Jack and the Beanstalk Story, Part 2. And Jack made up his mind to try his luck once more at the top of the beanstalk. So one fine morning he rose up early, and got onto the beanstalk, and he climbed, and climbed, and climbed, until at last he came out onto the road again and up to the great tall house he had been to before. There, sure enough, was the great tall woman standing on the doorstep. "Good morning, ma'am," said Jack, as bold as brass. "Could you be so good as to give me something to eat?" "Go away, boy," said the big tall woman, "or else my man will eat you up for breakfast. Aren't you the youngster who came here once before? Do you know, that very day my man missed one of his bags of gold." "That's strange, ma'am," said Jack. "I dare say I could tell you something about that, but I'm so hungry I can't speak until I've had something to eat." Well, the big tall woman was so curious that she took him in and gave him something to eat. He had scarcely begun munching it as slowly as he could when thump, thump, they heard the giant's footstep, and his wife hid Jack away in the oven. All happened as it did before. In came the ogre as he did before, said fee-fi-fo-fum, and had his breakfast off 3 boiled oxen. Then he said, "Wife, the hen that lays the golden eggs." So she brought it, and the ogre said, "Lay," and it laid an egg all of gold. Then the ogre began to nod his head, and to snore until the house shook. Jack crept out of the oven on tiptoe and caught hold of the golden hen, and was off before you could say Jack Robinson. This time the hen gave a cackle which woke the ogre, and just as Jack got out of the house he heard him calling, "Wife, wife, what have you done with my golden hen?" The wife said, "Why, my dear." But that was all Jack heard, for he rushed off to the beanstalk and climbed down like a house on fire. When he got home he showed his mother the wonderful hen, and said lay to it, and it laid a golden egg every time he said lay. He climbed down and down until at last he got home, and told his mother and showed her the gold and said, "Well, mother, wasn't I right about the beans? They are really magical, you see." Well, it wasn't long before that Jack made up his mind to have another try at his luck up there at the top of the beanstalk. One fine morning he rose up early and got to the beanstalk, and climbed, and climbed, and climbed, and he climbed until he got to the top. This time he knew better than to go straight to the ogre's house. When he got near it, he waited behind a bush until he saw the ogre's wife come out with a pail to get some water, and then he crept into the house and got into a big copper pot. He hadn't been there long when he heard thump, 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 as before, and in came the ogre and his wife. "Fee-fi-fo-fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman," cried out the ogre. "I smell him, wife, I smell him." "Do you, my dearie?" said the ogre's wife. "Then, if it's that little rogue that stole your gold and the hen that laid the golden eggs, he's sure to have gotten into the oven." And they both rushed to the oven. Jack wasn't there, luckily. So the ogre sat down to the breakfast and ate it, but every now and then he would mutter, "Well, I could have sworn," and he'd get up and search the larder and the cupboards and everything, only, luckily, he didn't think of the copper pot. After breakfast, the ogre called out, "Wife, wife, bring me my golden harp." So she brought it and put it on the table before him. Then he said, "Sing." The golden harp sang most beautifully. It went on singing until the ogre fell asleep, and commenced to snore like thunder. Then Jack lifted up the copper lid very quietly and got down like a mouse and crept on hands and knees until he came to the table, when up he crawled, caught hold of the golden harp and dashed with it towards the door. But the harp called out quite loudly, "Master! Master! Master!" The ogre woke up just in time to see Jack running off with his harp. Jack ran as fast as he could, and the ogre came rushing after, and would soon have caught him, only Jack had a start and dodged him a bit and knew where he was going. When he got to the beanstalk, the ogre was not more than 20 yards away when suddenly he saw Jack disappear. When he came to the end of the road, he saw Jack underneath climbing down for dear life. Well, the ogre didn't like trusting himself to such a ladder, and he stood and waited, so Jack got another start. Just then the harp cried out, "Master! Master! Master!" And the ogre swung himself down onto the beanstalk, which shook with his weight. Down climbed Jack, and after him climbed the ogre. By this time Jack had climbed down, and climbed down, and climbed down until he was very nearly home. So he called out, "Mother! Mother! Bring me an axe, bring me an axe!" His mother came rushing out with the axe in her hand, but when she came to the beanstalk she stood stuck still with fright, for there she saw the ogre with his legs just through the clouds. Jack jumped down and took hold of the axe and gave a chop at the beanstalk, which cut it half in two. The ogre felt the beanstalk shake and quiver, so he stopped to see what was the matter. Then Jack gave another chop with the axe, and the beanstalk was cut in two and began to topple over. Then the ogre fell down and broke his crown, and the beanstalk came toppling after. Jack showed his mother his golden harp, and with showing that and selling the golden eggs, Jack and his mother became very rich, and he married a great princess, and they lived happy ever after. The moral of the story teaches about how to behave in the world. We should not take a risk when we are in danger. We need to be careful. Jack risked his life and went up the beanstalk and brought the treasures of the giant. We need to act clever at times. Cleverness and timing are important when you are at risk. It is better not to take risks, but when needed we have to act accordingly. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe now.